A couple of days ago, myself, along with many other YouTubers, covered a story where Take-Two Interactive had been accused of some extremely distasteful activity. The accusation was that the company had hired private investigators to go to a YouTuber's home, that YouTuber being Submato, and question him about his Borderlands 3 video coverage because he had been focusing on leaks and unreleased information. At the time, it was purely an allegation, but yesterday IGN published a story that shed some light on the situation and also underlines an even deeper issue when it comes to the relationship between gaming media and large publishers. I would not normally give IGN the time of day. After all, this is the company that published a review of Resident Evil 2, the remake, and the reviewer did not even know that the game had a second campaign. The reviewer played half of the game and then reviewed it, which is what I like to call peak incompetence. But today I am forced to read their drivel, even if only to criticize their position, because Take-Two will not talk to independent creators like myself. They will only funnel information through their trusted bootlicking lapdogs. The Submato situation is quite complicated, honestly, and I'll link my original coverage down below for those that are interested, but to summarize here, Submato is a Borderlands fan who has been covering the franchise for years. During the course of that coverage, he has focused on leaks and information reveals, with his most recent discovery being a Twitch account linked with the official Borderlands 3 Twitch extension, which was set to private, but streamed the game, and as a result, the stream thumbnail was updated periodically with snippets of information. Submato, and many others for that matter, analyzed these thumbnails in their hunt for clues as to what Borderlands 3 might contain, and he eventually made a video discussing the findings. To be thorough here, the subreddit for Borderlands 3 is full of information like this. There are hundreds, probably thousands of people discussing the material, and Submato was, by every indication I can personally find, not the original source for the information he reported on. He was, like most creators, summarizing and discussing topics produced and found by others with his own twist and commentary perspective. Take-Two, which has a history of intimidation and aggressive legal pursuit far more vindictive than most other companies in the space, did not like this and hired independent investigators to go to his private residence and question him. By his own claim, there were clear insinuations of impending lawsuits, and there was a pressure to back off, else Take-Two would attack him even further. There were false copyright strikes. 6 out of 7 have since been removed or revoked. We are unsure exactly why, and his Discord server was also forcibly deleted immediately after the investigators left his house. This pretty much brings everyone up to speed, and Submato understandably wants to distance himself from Borderlands 3 as well as YouTube, and he cannot be blamed for that, honestly, but even with his departure from the scenario, it's important for other creators to examine the entire series of events because Take-Two is off the deep end. This brings us to the IGN story. Take-Two actually gave statements to IGN for obvious reasons, seeing as the story paints them in a massively positive light while leveling unfounded accusations at Submato in the process, but even through this veiled subterfuge, it's readily apparent that Take-Two, regardless of deeper intricacies, is crossing lines. Take-Two began by saying the following: Take-Two and 2K take the security and confidentiality of trade secrets very seriously. The action we've taken is the result of a 10-month investigation and a history of this creator profiting from breaking our policies, leaking confidential information about our product, and infringing on our copyright. This is already riddled with inconsistencies. For starters, leaking information is usually attributed to an employee or some other privileged party. Submato is no such privileged party who is privy to information about the inner workings of Borderlands. He is an investigator from the outside looking inward. This means that he cannot necessarily leak anything himself. He can merely report on leaks or tidbits of information made available by others, and that is actually a very important distinction. The next interesting line is infringing our copyright, and this might actually be true since his coverage pertained to the Borderlands games. I'm not sure, I'd have to go back and look at the terms and conditions for Borderlands, for Gearbox, and for Take-Two Interactive, but this is entirely separate from any sort of confidentiality breach or the legality of reporting on leaked information. This is already turning into a corporate word soup of keywords to try and confuse readers into thinking, oh gosh, yeah, I guess he should be in trouble. Continuing on, IGN summarizes that Take-Two claims Submato has been leaking accurate information on Borderlands 3 for well over a year, but this brings us back to the concept of leak versus report. Unless Submato bugged Take-Two's facility or blackmailed someone, or there was bribery or intimidation, haha, kind of like what they did to him, or some other form of actual crime involved, he is merely executing a similar role as a journalist would with an investigative piece. Think of it this way. Let's say that Submato did have a source within the company, and I have a source of my own that indicated this is highly possible, but I'll get to that a bit later on. Let's say he did have a source that was leaking information to him. The The source themselves are responsible for the leak, and Submato merely reports on it. When a corporate whistleblower goes to the press, the company does not send hired goons to the journalist's house. They investigate their own company, fire the one responsible, and try to be better at controlling their own information flow. This is a case of Take-Two failing to secure their own information and then blaming anyone who discussed their own failure. Leaks and leak reporting are a natural part of not only the games industry, but society as a whole. The process helps to serve as a check and balance against corporate dominance, and Take-Two hates that. They want to control the entire narrative and have creators shut up and obey their every command without operating as their own independent sentient being. Let's continue. Next, a Take-Two representative says the following: the information he's sharing about the situation is incomplete and, in some cases, untrue. Not only were many of his actions illegal, but they were negatively impacting the experience of other content creators and our fans in anticipation for the game. This is yet another nebulous allegation. They clearly state that he has committed a crime by saying his actions were illegal, but as we have seen in the past, Take-Two do not hesitate in the slightest when it comes to litigation. If Submato had actually done anything verifiably illegal, they would have immediately used that platform to crush him, no questions asked, and it would have been far cleaner and more effective as well. Instead, they sent private investigators to his home, his private house, not law enforcement. That's a very important distinction here. They threatened further legal action instead of submitting a formal court order, and they follow up yet again, even now, with statements and accusations through their lapdog news publication rather than legitimately bringing action against him. This brings us to the claim that leaked information coverage negatively impacts the experience of other creators and fans in anticipation for the game. This is demonstrably untrue. For starters, injection of information into the YouTube ecosystem can almost never be detrimental to creators, unless it is an expose or criticism piece aimed at a particular individual. Furthermore, leaked information is also not damaging to fans because they can merely avoid listening to discussion of leaked info or choose to ignore it. An easy example would be Division 2. I had friends personally who knew huge chunks of information well in advance for that game, and I just didn't talk to them about most of it because I wanted to wait and be surprised. Them knowing did not negatively impact me, it was a non-factor. Them knowing details about plot and factions and characters was completely disconnected from my own experience. It can be damaging to the company's own PR initiatives and promotional structure, which is a valid response, but that isn't what Take-Two even said. Had they focused on that angle, I would have begrudgingly agreed with them, but instead they focused on how it is damaging to content creators and fans, which is absolute fabrication. The IGN article then proceeds to level accusations that Submato has deleted some of his videos in a way clearly designed to insinuate guilt, but the obvious response is that a multi-billion-dollar corporation just went scorched earth on his livelihood. Of course he is scared and deleting material. Fear is probably the only logical thing to feel during a situation like this. Now we get to the most interesting segment. It has also been alleged that Submato indirectly sold Borderlands 3 leaks by giving them to followers on his Discord channel, which can be accessed by signing up for a $5 membership to his YouTube channel. This is where the tone of the article shifts from maybe passable reporting, possibly, to corporate hit piece. I have a source that is close to Submato. I have not talked to him directly, but this source has been discussing the events with me in detail and was also an active participant in the Discord server before its termination. I won't share this person's name because it was a private conversation, and I doubt they would actually like me to do so, but they directly claimed that there was never a single indication of that kind of behavior on the server at any time. The allegation that Submato was selling access to private and confidential information is a pretty serious thing, but there is no indication at all that it is true, and quite the contrary, an abundance of reports that claim it is false. If it is in fact true, that would be a vastly different circumstance and perhaps explain why the Discord server was terminated. I'm not familiar with the exact specifics of Discord's terms and conditions, though from my own past interactions with them, it's a lot like Twitch staff, subjective, poorly laid out, and comes down to their own interpretation, and my experience with Discord staff is that they are pretty shit. But regardless, anyways, if Submato was selling leaked information, that might explain one section of this whole convoluted mess. But so far, reports indicate it is entirely unfounded, the IGN article presents no evidence, and it appears to be yet another obfuscation to paint Take-Two in a positive light while condemning Submato as disreputable. As I record this, it came to my attention that Submato has now received over 60 DMCA takedowns on his content. This just happened. Dozens of videos have been wiped out by Take-Two, and his channel is about to be terminated as a result. 2K Games has manually claimed all of these and almost certainly as retaliation, and since the background footage of this video is Red Dead Redemption 2, and I have plenty of content covering their games in the past, this makes me very nervous as to what they may do about the rest of us covering the topic, but I'm not going to stay silent while 2K and Take-Two enact some of the most disgusting and despicably vindictive actions I have ever seen in my history as a creator. Now on to one of the most interesting things that I have found. This is a screenshot of the IGN article immediately after publishing. It was covered by Legacy Killa HD very quickly, and he used footage of it in his video. By the way, he is an excellent creator. I'll link his channel down below, but back on topic. This version of the article says the following. In our discussions with 2K, we've learned that the Twitch streams Submato used as sources were set to private, not public, as Submato claims. He never claimed that they were public in his video. That is a direct lie. He referenced the public thumbnails, but anyways, moving on. We were told that it was an exploit in Twitch's security that allowed Submato's community to data mine their way into getting access to thumbnail previews on what were private test streams. Right there, an acknowledgement that this was not his doing. He merely reported on the information like most creators do. And the paragraph concludes with, "This puts Submato's claim in his Borderlands 3 videos into question." Now, let's look at the page as is at the time of this video. In our discussions with Take-Two, we've learned that the Twitch streams Submato used as sources were set to private, and an exploit in Twitch's security allowed Submato's community to screenshot thumbnail previews. This puts into question how public the information Submato reported on his Borderlands 3 videos. The entire section about data mining is gone. The section saying that he claimed they were public, gone. And the final sentence has been adjusted as well and is, side note, also grammatically incorrect as of right now. But the article itself has not been tagged as updated as articles normally are when information has been changed or new info learned. IGN has attempted to modify their coverage of this issue and expunge their own failure and discrepancies, as well as adjust their inaccurate and false claims without acknowledging what they said. I have not combed the article further, but even at a glance, there are other discrepancies such as the removal of a parentheses not all snippet a couple of paragraphs down and other adjustments as well. Take-Two is claiming through IGN that Submato has broken the law. They directly said that, while also confirming they did send private investigators to his home. But no evidence is provided for their allegations. Not only that, but many players have been reaching out to the Borderlands 3 official Twitter page to inquire about the events, and they are being blocked in droves. I have also seen reports that there are keyword filters now on their YouTube videos and channel that ban Submato's name, though I'm unable to verify that myself, and even if it were to be untrue, the Twitter blocking reports are numerous and well documented, so it must be asked, why are they panicking and banning everyone who discusses this if they truly have stable positions to draw from? Submato never signed a non-disclosure agreement, and additionally, in every single instance I could find, he is not the primary source. He is reporting on another person's findings, whether it be a Reddit post or a community member data mining, it doesn't matter, because he is not committing any action that deserves to have private investigators show up at his residence and question him in an intimidating way, with false DMCA takedowns on top of that. Take-Two Interactive is digging themselves a grave right now, and they are not slowing down. IGN also grabbed a shovel as well, and they are working themselves to the bone, trying to go as deep as possible. Updating articles with different information and not indicating that to your audience, sending private goons to a creator's house when he did nothing wrong and merely reported on information from others. At some point, we have to ask where the common sense went, because this is honestly ridiculous. I don't mean to sound hyperbolic here, but there are battle lines being drawn. IGN has time and again declared themselves for the corporate publishers, and now as Take-Two attacks a YouTuber, myself and others are stepping to his defense. The divide in gaming will only become more pronounced as the tactics become increasingly aggressive, and the escalation right now is coming straight from Take-Two, and it is exacerbated by IGN. That's it for today, though. I don't know what will come of all this or even the full scope of details surrounding the entire situation, but I'm starting to see that I don't need the full picture because what I can see is already completely unacceptable. If you want to support, check out the links down below, specifically the Patreon and Twitter. My goal is to drop any reliance at all on YouTube's AdSense program because there are really suspect things going on right now with their CPM and average views and all that kind of stuff, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching and have a nice night.